Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new series where I'll be teaching you guys lessons upon coding fundamentals to get you started with programming. This video will be an introduction to Roblox Studio to get you familiar with the engine. Coding or scripting in Roblox may seem intimidating at first, but once you begin developing a grasp on the concepts and understanding why certain code is written in a particular format, your understanding will gradually become more sound as you continue being exposed to this material. To start off, let's go over exactly what we're coding with. In Roblox, the platform uses a coding language called Lua, and this program is implemented in a wide variety of games because it is easy and flexible to use. If you are interested in learning more about the language, you can visit Lua's website to learn more information. But before we get deeper into Lua, let's go over some basics of how to navigate Roblox Studio, where we will be creating our experiences. When you open up Roblox Studio, you should encounter this page that you see in front of me. All these little tabs here are different experiences that have been preset by Roblox. Feel free to explore it later, but for now let's just open up a clean base plate. When you open up a fresh world, you should see this window with this object in the middle. This area in front of you is known as your workspace. To maneuver around the workspace, you can use WASD to move accordingly, or you can also use your arrow keys to maneuver. To look around, just simply right-click your mouse and drag in the direction that you want. While you are moving, you can also hold Shift to slower your speed. You can also use your wheel button or your scroll wheel to move at a higher speed. You can also click and hold your wheel mouse button and drag across the plane. Nextly, let's take a look at the top and go through each of one of the tabs and describe what each one of them does. Looking at the Home tab, this is where the general building and testing of your experiences take place. We can see here you have these transform tools to manipulate objects, an area here to insert objects, and an area here to test out your experience. Nextly, let's go over to the Model tab. We can see some similarities between the Model tab and the Home tab, such as the tools. But here, we have a lot more options that involve with manipulating models and objects more in depth. Let's go to the Avatar tab. The Avatar tab is associated with creating meshes and working around rigs and accessories and stuff like that. The Test tab is used to test your experience. Here you can test with a local server and test with a certain amount of players run by your computer, or you can test on different devices like mobile. Now, your View tab. The View tab allows you to toggle different windows according to your needs. Since we're on this tab, two windows, if not already open, should be your Explorer on the right and your Properties also on the right. If they are not open for whatever reason, you can look here at the left and click on Explorer and Properties. These two windows will be essential when creating your own experience, as we'll be using them majority of the time. Another window that will be vital to when we begin programming is the Output window. I'll go more in depth about what the Output window does when we begin programming, but it's just to keep in mind. Lastly is the Plugins window. Here we can access and see plugins available to us. You can always import your own or purchase some plugins from others. Alright, now let's take a look at the Explorer window. What we see here in the right are all the different kind of services provided by Roblox. I won't go into depth about what each of these services do, but for the workspace, if we look under here, we can see all the different stuff that's inside the workspace, and your workspace is this area here. This here is a spawn location, and we can see that it's inside the workspace. If we click on it here, it will show up in here. There are a lot more services that Roblox provides, but those are accessed through our scripts. Now the properties window. The properties window will give you all the different kinds of properties that are available for each item. When I describe items, I'm not talking about just objects inside the workspace. They can be parts, GUIs, other stuff like that. And when I click on this spawn location, you can see a bunch of different properties that pop up that are associated with this part. Now I will begin to show you how to insert a part into the world. Firstly, you go to the top of the page, the top of the studio, sorry, and you click on part. Here we can see that we've just inserted a part into the workspace. As the same as before, if we look to our right, we can see all the different properties that are associated with this part. We can change things like the color of the part, or even the transparency of this part. I can also click by using my left mouse button to select this part, and left click and drag to move this object. And I just want to fix something here. Okay. Let's go up and describe what some of these tools will be used for. First, we got the select tool. Now, this tool allows us to select different kind of objects within our workspace. That's pretty self-explanatory. The next transformation tool is our move tool. This here allows us to move our object on a fixated axis. If I wanted to move this object on the y-axis, I click on the y arrow and move it accordingly. If you want to determine what axis you are working with, as you can see here on my top right, I got this little object here with different kind of axis and their labels on them. If you want to have this enabled, go to your View tab and then click on View Sector. You can toggle this on or on to help you with navigating the planes and the axis. Next, we have our Scale tab. This manipulates the relative size and thickness of our object. We can scale our part here on our preferred axis, as so. By holding down Control, we can scale this object on both sides of the axis. And if we hold down Shift, we can scale the entirety of the object. You can also rotate this object by hitting R. It's a little bit difficult to tell because of its shape. If we hit R, we can see that the object rotates. And we can also rotate it by hitting T. We can also rotate the object by going to the Rotate tab. By selecting the tool of Rotate, we're presented with this spherical rings. When we click and drag on it, we can rotate the object on its according axis. Now mine is scaled a little bit differently, but you can always change the scale by going to the model and looking at the snap to grid section. Here we can see a different kind of values that we can associate with our rotate or our move option. Right now I have mine set to 5 degrees, meaning every little tick in between each notch is 5 degrees. And you can change the value accordingly. Now looking at the move movement, this is when you are moving your object. Now the units that Roblox uses are studs, as you can see here. Now what one stud represents are one of these squares on your base plate. One of these squares represents one stud, and the stud is 1 unit of measurement in the Roblox engine. So if I want to move this part 1 stud, I set this value to 1, and you can see where it's lined up here, it will only move 1 stud at a time. I can change this value to 2 studs, and you'll see this object, when I move it to the right, or to the left, sorry, it will move 2 studs at a time. For more precise measurements, I can lower the value to only 1/10 of a stud. You can see the object move 1/10. Lastly, to delete objects, you can always hit delete, and if you go up here, you can also undo your actions or redo your actions. And you can also delete by hitting backspace. So that is pretty much it for this introductory. I hope you are able to build a foundation off of this lesson. I recommend exploring and trying different things within the studio just to get the feel for it. You can always go to the toolbox and insert objects to play around with. If you go to the view tab, go to the toolbox, you can see this window on the left open up, and you can insert different models to mess around with. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'll try to get to you and answer it as the best that I can. Thank you.